so much. I love you so much. I love you so much. I love you so much.
Hello, all you positive heads. Welcome to a very special episode dedicated to none other than you, the P-heads themselves. I am your P-head enthusiast and hostess for the day, Alexa Hauser. I have been blessed to have the experience of helping out with Positive Head social media for the better part of a year. And through my digital interactions, I began to realize, as did Brandon, that we have some incredible beings listening to this show who are taking the information that Brandon puts out through the podcast and using it to transform their lives and create wonderful things. You listeners are all a huge, huge part of the life force that propels this show forward through time and space, and we think it's time to bring forth some of you beautiful reflections and delve a little deeper into this collection of energy that is the Positive Head community. So as we shine the spotlight on our listeners, what we'll have them do is share their stories of how they attracted Positive Head into their life, the transformation it's facilitated for them, and what they're focused on creating now that they're in a more positive headspace. Also, this episode of the Positive Head podcast is being brought to you thanks to the support of Gaia. If you're not familiar, Gaia is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content online. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Hello, all you positive heads. On this week's P-Head Posse episode, our guest is Positive Head listener Jeffery Davis. Jeffery is a transformational coach helping people create the love of their lives and live their most fulfilling existence on this planet. He's a creative artist, speaker, and intuitive healer with a personal purpose to create a legacy of love in every beat of his heart. Hi, Jeffery. Welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you?
So well. So glad we could finally connect in this way.
Me too. I love what you guys are doing.
Oh, that's awesome. And it sounds like, I'm so excited to just talk with you about, everything that was mentioned in your intro. But let's, we always like to start at the beginning with all of our guests and just hear about what their journey has been like up until now, what their path has been like and how it's led to this moment.
Okay. Yeah. I started my journey at a spot where I actually got kind of bored, and I got to a spot where I was like, "This is it. Really, this can't be it." I was sitting in a really nice place in Pacific Heights and looking around me with a really nice life, and just I felt completely unfulfilled. And I couldn't figure out what was the issue because according to everybody else, this was what you were supposed to have. But the thing was, it was more than what you have. It was who you were being. And so one of the first places that I started looking at was, I see what I'm doing. I'm actually living in my head. And I think I have my way of being upside down. So perhaps my head is the personal assistant and my heart is the CEO. Whereas my heart actually wasn't involved in the decisions. And I realized as I was in business and becoming successful that certainly you can become very successful by just staying in your head. And that's where the numbers are and that's where the business decisions are. But you end up like I did. You're successful and you're unfulfilled. You're out of your body and out of your heart. So that kind of became my journey back into my body, back into my way of being, and back into who I truly was. And I started to realize that as a kid, I had disconnected from who I was as an adult. And as a kid, I was a male, sensitive, intuitive kid and in a society that didn't know what to do with that, didn't know how to speak to that, didn't know who that was, and didn't know how to guide that sensitive kid. And so I kind of made it up as I went along, and tried to turn this square peg into a round and fit it into a round hole, and ended up where I was. So I started a personal journey of every possible thing that you could think of. Literally, anytime somebody was like, well, this was super helpful. Oh my God, I did this. And I was like, okay, cool. Who's that? So it involved energy work, body work, this type of work, plant medicine. It was just like literally all across the board, this expansive therapy. And it was the most amazing journey. Literally, I was operating from a place of yes. Wow. And that's a really powerful, transformative way of being. There is a lot of power in no. In this particular case, the expansion and the exploration started with a yes, and really starting to tune into where that yes came from, which was in my body. And that started to expand my awareness. And I started to really tap into what I could create, who I was as a creator, who I am as a creator. And the yeses became much more grounded in my body and my intuition, and they became much simpler to hear. So every day became much more magical. And they became much more magical without having any particular, it's not like I just kind of floated through my days, but they became much more magical in how they unfolded versus before. I was much more in my masculine, much more planned out, and much more rigid in how my life was unfolding. And there was a lot less magic and a lot more push.
Yeah.
So it was really, and then the next step after I was doing that was, how do I integrate all of this? And that was another fascinating experience too. As I started doing this work, then people started coming to me and gravitating to me to work with them and to coach them. And my first thought was, no, I'm a business guy. I don't coach. What is this all about? I'm just on my own journey. I don't know anything about coaching you. I'm just figuring me out. And then it almost seemed at one point I got that was arrogant on my part. I have a gift, and I had a gift that in a way of working with people and helping people that I was not owning. And it's like you have a cure for something and somebody's coming to you and they're saying, can I have a sip of that? And you're like, no, this is not going to help you. And they're like, but I know it's going to help me. What are you doing? You're like, no. And so it was just really interesting to notice how initially I wasn't owning that. And then once I got that it was a gift, and it was a gift that I could lovingly offer, then I did. And then I saw how transformative that gift could be, the gift that I have in coaching and working with people energy. And in some ways, literally integrating all of what I had learned with who I am and the path that I had traveled, so that people could really step into a way of being, a way of expressing, creating their own magic and being love. Because what I got to was that I am actually here to live and be a legacy of love. And, what that means is that's a core value of mine. And I try to step through that, live through that, make decisions through that. And my perspective flows through that.
Yeah.
And what was interesting, and I talked about the integration, was as I was coaching and as I've been coaching, I started to, and it is transformative. It's as transformative for me working with somebody as it is for them. I'm not a guru. I'm not a teacher. It's an process. They are teachers. Everybody is as powerful as everybody else. And I am as changed working with somebody as they are changed. And so what became really interesting was, as I discovered this magic of working with people, I was like, wow, this is really interesting. So I'm doing this, but I'm not really building a business. And yet I come from a corporate background, and that's all I've done. So I wonder if I even look at this as a way of being, a way of creating my livelihood. I mean, that's legitimate. That this is what I actually want to step in and do. And what was fascinating was the first moment that I coached somebody after I thought about it that way, and I had a moment about 5 minutes before I had that coaching session. I was like, oh my God, I forgot how to coach. It was interesting because I literally had such a wall between both sides of my brain that there was a moment where I saw the wall. And then all of a sudden in the middle, for the first 5 minutes of that coaching session, I was like, oh yeah, I'm good at this. I know how to do this. I can connect with people. I can help them find their inner magic and their greatness and cultivate that and grow that and step into a place of love where they can create the love of their lives. This is what I do. This is literally who I am. And so at that moment, it integrated, both sides of myself integrated into this way of being. And I know what I'm here on the planet to do.
Wow. I love that. So that's my story. That's all. No, that's amazing. And I really love how you talk about integrating both sides of you and, and coming from, because I think a lot of us actually come from, a lot of people who are listening to this show come from backgrounds where they were, like you said, very business minded or very much in the corporate world. And then, they have some sort of awakening or understanding of what's really going on, like a resonance with their inner selves. And suddenly it's this kind of like flip. It feels like the road is kind of split. But actually, as you're talking, it's kind of reminding me that a lot of us who come from those backgrounds are actually kind of meant, like you said, or maybe we're meant to integrate those things. Like that background is for a reason. And when we have our awakening or understanding of, our true purpose here, we have time to explore that. But then ultimately, maybe it's about us integrating those other skills that we started with into this, newly discovered purpose and using them for good. I mean, not that business isn't good, but you know what I'm saying? Like using that and bringing it forward.
Yeah. And it's really, it's interesting too, because when I, and the wall was so thick because as I started to do this, this self-work, there was a moment where I was looking back on who I had been. And I noticed there was some judgment around that. And there was, that guy. It was that guy, right? And it's really fascinating because that the next step is having compassion for that guy. And with that, the world around us, because the world around us, what is normal is not necessarily healthy. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we live in this world where most people think, oh, well, everybody does it. It's normal. And well, it's the rebellion or the rebellious act is actually being healthy of mind, being healthy of spirit, being a healthy person and operating in a world that is intrinsically not that way. And it was really fascinating. I was working with a client recently and he was journaling and about where he was at the very beginning of us starting to work together. He's like, I'm not going to want to read this down the road, as I go along and we progress. And I was talking to him and I said, well, actually, I think you will want to read it because you'll be looking at this person who in the midst of breakdown, who in the midst of this turmoil, who in the midst of this pain had so much courage and so much love for you that they still stepped forward to create who you are now. And that's deep compassion for that person in pain, not judgment for who they were and how quote unquote messed up they were, because they actually took a step of love to create you in this space that you are, in this amazing space that you are. They recognized your greatness, and in the middle of the mess, they took a step for that. They took a stand for who you are. And I think, what's interesting is, sometimes in the light worker community, there is this bubble that people operate within, which is, and I think as light workers and as healers and as people who are really interested in making a difference, it's not about being around other people on the same path. That's important. But we're here to actually bring light to the darker places, not isolate us from the darker places. So it's really important for us to integrate, and really important for us to step in and do the scary parts and the places that we don't want to be, and the supporters of this and the supporters of that, the people that we disagree with, and perhaps not unfriending everybody who doesn't have the same opinion as us on Facebook. Perhaps those are the people that need to hear us the most. Perhaps those are the people that actually need compassion. They need understanding, because perhaps the reason they have those opinions is because they feel misunderstood.
Oh, I love that. I love that perspective. And I think that's so accurate. And and it also reminds me how sometimes I get into these, with the people around me who are not of this specific mindset, although, they're awakened to some things, but, sometimes I get, as we all do, frustrated with, parents or anyone around us that kind of we perceive doesn't really get it. Right. And then I constantly get this reminder that it's like, you were there just 3 years ago. Like that was right. You weren't thinking about any of this. You thought people were weird who talked about this stuff. Like speaking about me. And it's such a humbling reminder. And it's a soothing reminder too, that like, if you just think about what you've been through and how you not too long ago were kind of quote unquote in the dark or just kind of not aware of these things, then you can look at the people around you or the people, like you said, who have differing opinions. And you can have a little bit more patience and compassion and understand like they're just on their own journey. This is part of their process, like, and not be so like, as you're saying, unfriend them and cast them aside. I think that's really important. I mean,
yeah, it's almost like people at a peace rally throwing rocks at the people who are in the military. It's like from the middle, both sides look the same. It's really important to provide compassion for people who may have opinions that are different than yours, because in that compassion, they feel understood. They feel a connection. They can start to actually hear what you have to say. They can hear your message of love. They can feel your connection. They can feel the trueness of what you're talking about. Right. And the trueness is, hey, we should all love each other. But if you're saying that and yet you're judging them because they have a different opinion, they're not feeling that. And the game again is to go back to what I was talking about, operating in your body and the feeling versus in your head, which is where I was before.
And how that's... Oh, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, and how do you, because I think that we all hear that from different sources and teachers and people, like, to move into the heart. But how do you do that when you're so head oriented? What are there any tips or processes that have worked for you in order to start moving more into the heart?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of different ways to do that. I mean, so the first thing that I would recommend is, and we can do it right now. I mean, I know people do this quite a bit, but if we just stop for a moment and just take a deep breath into our belly and then our chest and release, and just notice how we feel in our bodies and what's going on. Because a lot of times when we're talking fast, when we're listening and we're in a rush and we're out of our bodies, and our bodies, I believe, are just meat antennas. And what I mean by that is we're sending and receiving information. Mm-hmm. So sometimes we think that of this person and they call us and we're like, oh, look, I manifested that. Well, that's possible. Or perhaps your thought was simply you receiving that they were thinking about you. Mm-hmm. So you felt them thinking about you, because we all are connected and we all are sending and receiving information. Mm-hmm. So the first place is body awareness. So if you're not attuning to your body on a regular basis, and the most important way to do that is just simply slowing down and breathing. And then the second place that I would start when you want to have a body connection and you want to open up into your heart is gratitude. And gratitude, most people will think of gratitude again in their heads. Oh, it's a list. I'm grateful for mom. I'm grateful for dad. And it's a beautiful day. And, the fact that I walked to work and I had some coffee and this is an amazing day. And it's like, so you're in your head. Gratitude is actually an experience. And it's the most profound experience that you can have. And it's a portal to love. The other day I woke up at 5:30 in the morning and I was meditating. And in the middle of my meditating, I was overwhelmed with gratitude and tears were pouring out of my eyes for the exquisiteness of and the beauty of this life. And every moment will never exist again. And every moment on the way out and then on the way in is absolutely exquisite in its beauty. And so, like I was talking about before, this gentleman that I was coaching, his first reaction was one of judgment of who he was when he first started working with me. He's like, that person, he's really sad and, everything else. I'm like, you can have gratitude for that person, for the courageousness that you have. Yeah. And really breathe that in. And so the experience of gratitude, having an experience of gratitude is so selecting something in your life that you feel some gratitude about and literally just feeling it. So let's do that right now. So what we'll do is, if everybody can pick something that you feel gratitude about. It's a person, it's a place, it's an event. And so just focus on that. And what I would encourage you to do is close your eyes and start to breathe that in. And start to feel yourself with that person, that place, that moment, and what that felt like. Maybe what it sounded like, what it feels like in your body, how juicy it is, that experience. And start to notice where in your body did you feel that gratitude, that warmth, that connection, that lit up part of you as you're breathing deeply. And notice with each breath that you can expand that feeling. It can start to expand, usually that feeling somewhere around your heart, around your center. And you can start to feel that energy expanding like a flower opening further into your body, down your arms, down your legs, up into your head. And with the next breath, fully inflated inside of your body, full of gratitude for this person, place, this moment, this experience. And then breathing in gratitude for who you are to have created that moment, because that moment didn't exist without you. You are the source of that moment. And feeling that expansion into your body of gratitude for you and for the life that you are creating moment by moment. And then feeling this experience and this energy expanding outside of your body into the space around you. And then feeling each breath, breathing that in and exhaling it as a gift into the world around you and back into you of what you're creating and how you're interacting with the world. And now I would invite you to put your hand on your heart. And with another breath, just acknowledge yourself for showing up. And inside, tell yourself, I love you. And then when you're ready, come back.
That was really calming and nice. And I felt really expansive. Like I still feel expansive.
And that's the thing, right? So in society, we are taught that love is this energetic thing you've got to, and love really is an expansive, peaceful feeling where your body can relax. When you are in a space of love, all the tension just falls off your body and you're like, oh, okay, I can relax. I can be myself. I am loved. I am accepted. I am seen. I am here. Oh my God, this is so amazing. Here I am. Right?
Yeah.
And that's what love is. That's what love does. And in that space, you can connect with anything and anybody.
It's so true. And it's making me think about, all the different, how kind of loaded the word love and the idea of love has become just within our society, and how I think when a lot of us, think of love, it actually feels pretty stressful because it's like we're thinking of, the way we've been almost conditioned to think about it is what I'm saying. It's kind of like, oh, I need something from someone, or I need them to feel this way, or I'm not doing it right, or just all these things. And what you're saying is that's not love. Love is this feeling of peace and bliss and connection with everything. And I think it's such an important
acceptance.
Acceptance.
Yeah, it's just deep acceptance. In our society, we are taught and we are conditioned to think of love as getting something, attaching to something, conditional, right? It's like, we're together, so I love you. When we break up, I don't love you anymore. Or if you do this, I love you. And if you don't, then I don't. So, and that's not love. love is a gift that is there no matter who and what you are and what you are doing. Mm-hmm. Because we all do things that one moment we're like, oh my God, why did I do that? What was I thinking? I thought I was so awake. And it's like, what was I thinking? And it's just, we're just humans, we're just having a human experience, and that's okay. And loving that and knowing that, again, all of that feeds into who we are. And as long as we're tapped into who we are and we're interested in making a difference and tapped into our bodies and tapped into our hearts, that's where actually the world becomes a safer place. When people are walking around in their heads, it actually is less safe in the world. You can't connect to people. They can't feel you. They can't. And when somebody can't feel you and can't connect to you, that's stressful, right? That's where your attention is in a room versus when you walk into the other room and there's somebody. All you need is one person who's in that room and really grounded into their heart space, which is a loving place. And you're like, oh, okay, this is the place I want to be. This is the room I want to be in. This is where magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I was, it's funny. I was just thinking about, there was one of my friends was just having an experience with someone that she was dating, and I don't know, they were supposedly going to get back together or something. And she was telling me how then he was kind of being very distant, and she was like, she sent him a message that was like, you got to tell me what's going on. Like, you can't just leave me hanging here. And something came out, and advice came out to her, which was, what if instead of asking, what if instead of needing something from him, you can look at this as, how can I support him? Like, how can I support whatever he's going through? Like, how can I look at this as like, what can I give versus what can I get? And it's funny because that's not, I don't know, it just kind of came out of me in response to her conversation. And she was like, I've never considered that. Like, I've never considered it. And we were talking about how it really shifts, the dynamic of power, because I think within this topic of love and being in your heart, it's like we often feel that our power is being given away to other people. And that's why we feel so bad, right? Like, that's why we feel so disconnected. And maybe that, that's what leads to us getting in our head, right? Because we are not in our power. We have literally handed it over to others to make a decision to do something with. And, or I'm just curious if you have any thoughts on that, because I think that's like a really important dynamic as well, about the giving the power away, or the note, that you can really approach any situation while still staying in your own, keeping your power and still staying in your own power and being compassionate and being loving.
Well, yeah, I mean, what you're really talking about is the center of it all, which is love originates and is critical for it to be connected to love of self. And so in our society, there still is some judgment of, oh, well, that's egotistical. No, egotistical is egotistical. Love of self is the biggest gift that you can give to anybody on the planet. And so literally, again, you walk into that room, this person who is being love, they're being love. They're not just giving love. You can't give something that you don't have access to. And so when you're desiring connection and intimacy, you can't seek it from somebody else, because you're really ultimately not going to recognize it long term or sustain it, because it's sourced from someone else into a place that you don't understand. So if you're accessing it and you're creating intimacy and you're being intimate and being loving, intimacy being available and vulnerable, because you're connected to your power and you feel safe because you love yourself and you accept yourself. So you're comfortable being however you're being, because you're still going to love yourself. The people around you are, number one, magnetically drawn to that. Number two, feel safe around that. Number three, you're not giving away your power. You are powerful. And so you're literally creating the love that you want. I know it's stuff that people hear, but there's nothing more true on the planet. If you're not the source of your own love, you're just not going to be able to sustain or create love. It's just not possible. So what you were talking to your friend about is super important. And your friend, with the suggestion that you had was one of how to be loved, right? Versus I'm looking for this from you, but how would I actually, if I were you, what would I actually want? I would want me to be loving. I would want me to be accessible. I would want me to be vulnerable, because that's what I want from you.
Yeah.
So how can if I ask for something from you that I'm not willing to give, it's actually more of a demand than a gift.
Yeah.
And when we're demanding stuff, that's not a sustainable model for a loving relationship.
Absolutely. I love that. I think that was so beautifully said. And it makes so much sense, when you really lay it out, it just makes so much sense. And it shows you how we just kind of have to be around more people, be around more of these ideas, expose ourselves to more of these ideas. Because once you are, it really does make so much sense. It's kind of like, oh yeah, duh, and I think you just explained it so beautifully. I'm curious, how can, if our listeners are really resonating with this and you and going I want to work with him, how can they work with you or find out about your coaching programs or more info on you?
Sure. So, they're welcome to visit my website, which is Jeffery, Jeffery, Davis, Davis, coach.com.
Beautiful.
And I do have a program coming up. It's a 2-month program called Love Magic.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that sounds fun.
Amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So I'm really excited about that. And that starts in the beginning of April.
Awesome. So, if you're listening, definitely check out Jeffrey's website, see if you can, and check out that program, because that sounds really fun. And so you've just given us a bunch of insights and practices. But I'm curious, is there what's one thing that you think would benefit every P-head who's listening to know or understand as they continue on their own journey? Just your number one thing that you think is so important for people to understand.
Well, the thing that comes to me is the one thing that gets lost the most, which is you are enough. And so, at the core of that, what does that mean? That means that what you're looking for from somebody else, you can actually provide. That doesn't mean that we're not interacting with the world. What that means is that if you want that from the world and you're sourcing it, you're actually generating more and more of that world. So your experience of love, goes to 11 on the dial. And you being enough, what's interesting, and here's a practice that you can use around that. So noticing where, I really kind of want that person to validate my, this, or I want them to compliment me on this, or why is this not happening? So noticing that feeling or that thought and giving that to yourself. And sourcing that yourself and knowing that you are enough. And through that, you're not giving away your power. You are becoming powerful. You're becoming magnetic. You are becoming enough for yourself to have the magical life that you want to have. And in that, everything will come to you. You will be in the life and the love that you want to have.
Love that. Very powerful. Very powerful. And just powerful to even remind someone listening, we can all give ourselves we can give that to ourselves. We have that ability, but it's just remembering that we have that ability. We have the ability to soothe ourselves. We have the ability to, like you said, validate ourselves. Like affirmations was coming to mind with that. And I think that's a very powerful reminder, because we are an expression of source. So we have it all within us. So it's absolutely possible to give what we need to ourselves. And I'm actually an EFT practitioner, and something that I do with my clients quite a bit. Are you?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think we both studied with Sonia, right?
Whoa. Oh my, what's so crazy? While we were doing this, I swear that I kept getting this intuition that was like, you know him from somewhere, or he's familiar to you from somewhere, or you know him, you know him through someone. I kept getting that, but I was like, no, like, where would I know him from? That is wild. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. Well, so more than ever, right? It's like something that I do quite a bit with my clients is visualizations to go back, to childhood traumas or situations that really left like a lasting impact, and to just give that younger version of them what they needed at the time, whether that was to say something to someone, or whether that was a hug, or whether that was to be out of that situation. And it blows my mind every time how powerful that visualization is, how powerful it is to just go back and give yourself, the younger version of yourself, what you needed that you never got, and just see it happening. And it's like, wow, we are amazingly powerful creators, because every time I do that with a client, they just open their eyes and look at me like, how did that just work? Like, how did I actually just get what I needed there? That's crazy.
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
It's so magical. And you're changing timelines. You're changing your entire life with acts like that, and reparenting and giving yourself what you want. You're literally changing your past, your present, and your future all at one moment.
Mm-hmm, exactly. It's quantum. It's so It's so amazing. I love that. That's great. That's so funny. I knew it. I knew we knew each other somehow. So, okay. This is my last real question before we start wrapping up here. Do you have any fun or inspiring stories of synchronicity or manifestation, or any stories you just love that feel, magical to you that you'd like to share?
Oh my God, I literally swim in magic.
I love that. I swim in magic. That's epic.
It's, what the work that I do with people, the first place that magic starts is expanding your awareness, right? And as you start to expand your awareness, then you start to notice synchronicities. You start to connect and create on a much deeper, larger level. So here's something that happened the other day. So I was at an event, and I had been presented with an opportunity to speak in front of 350 people. And it was like, I'm sorting it out as to whether the event makes sense. And also it's of a magnitude larger than I've been in front of before. And there's a bunch of different things running through me. And so I'm at this event, and this is kind of in my head, but in my background. And we all circle up, and there's about 100 people at the event. And this has nothing to do with the speaking opportunity that I'm evaluating and considering. And so we all circle up, 100 people, and we're all facing each other, and we're supposed to grab the hands of the people next to us. So we grab hands. I look to my left. I don't know the person. I look to my right, and there's a guy who works with speakers who I know, who I haven't seen in a year and a half, who literally trains people and helps them evaluate speaking opportunities and helps them prime to present in front of mass numbers of people. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm holding the hand of the guy that has the information that I'm actually looking for, and I had no place to go for it. Amazing.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah. And it's funny because at first I just recognized him before I recognized what was happening. And then I just started laughing out loud. I'm like, seriously? Like, I'm holding his hand.
Oh my gosh. I love that when the universe just actually like places it's right there. It's actually in front of your face. Like, it's so, you cannot ignore it at that point. And I love that. That's amazing. So did you end up working with this guy, or are you going to? I guess that's not the point of the story.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, we worked together on that piece, and we're actually going to do some other work too. But it was just so magical in terms of what I'm creating, and I'm speaking more now. And
wow,
yeah,
that is amazing. I love that. I love that so much. And look, like, that I feel like the universe put us together for some reason as well. Like, that's just it's so funny because I just had this intuition the whole time we were talking. I was like, there's some connection. That's really great. That's amazing. Sonia is amazing as well. She's just this ray of light, and just, gosh, anyone who's connected to her is on another level. So, well, Jeffrey, this has been truly beautiful, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and opening your heart. And, it's truly been a blessing to talk with you, and thank you so much. Is there anything else you want to share before we sign off?
I really appreciate the opportunity. I love your energy. I'm such a fan of the community and all the people that show up here, and how they're really curious and open-hearted. And I'm so grateful for them. I'm grateful for this opportunity. And I just want everybody to know that they are enough, and that you are loved. And if there's anything I can do on any level, I'm here.
Oh, that's awesome. That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Jeffrey. I hope you have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You too.
That's it for this week's episode. If you're a listener with a story to share and are interested in being featured on a future episode of this special series, you can email me at alexa@positivehead.com. Also, if you're craving more consciousness elevating content, be sure to check out Gaia, which is the go-to source for streaming consciousness content on the web, where you can stream an incredible 7,000 plus exclusive videos covering 5,000 years of wisdom. As you all hear Brandon constantly say, it's a daily conscious effort to maintain an elevated vibration. And if you're looking to journey deep down the rabbit hole to do so, then Gaia is the best place we know of to do it. Period. And you can sign up for your first month for only 99 cents at gaia.com/positivehead. That's spelled GAIA.com/positivehead. Check it out. Otherwise, tune in next Friday for another P-Head Posse episode. And until then, as Brandon always says, journey well.